Not everything in Bramble is exactly how it seems. In this strange world with creatures big and small, many are hungry and spiteful and will do anything to survive. I will need to explore the beautiful yet dangerous and twisted lands. Can I survive these mythical creatures and rescue my sister? I completed all 30 achievements and welcome to Bramble, the Mountain King.
A nightmare woke him up. Frightened by his mother's bedtime story, he searched for his sister's comfort. But she was nowhere to be found.
Where did Lillemor go? I look around the room to find the storybook our mother read to us before bed. Then I see bed sheets hanging out of the window.
There once was a girl who snuck out of her bedroom window at night, even though her mother had told her not to. She went into the forest, and at first it welcomed her with warmth and a promise of adventures. But soon, the forest seemed to grow colder and darker. The girl was afraid, and she wanted to go home. But Bramble crawled around her arms and legs, and she could not get away. And the girl was never seen again. That is what happens when you do not listen to your mother. Especially you, Lillemor, their mother had said before kissing them goodnight. The darkness outside scared him. But not being with his sister scared him even more. The nearby forest was a familiar place during the day. But at night, it was a different story. There was no trace of Lillemor, and Ulle wished he could ask the pine cones if they had seen her. But if the pine cones knew about her fate, they kept it to themselves.
I go into the forest looking for Lillemor. Up the path I go, but everything looks so different at night. With the moonlight shining, I find a pinecone man on top of a stump. I climb up the rock face to see another pinecone man and a bunch of smaller ones surrounding it. I climb up and over the rocks, and then I'm startled by a deer jumping out from the trees. I continue balancing up the logs, trying not to fall, and then slide down the hill. I find the apple tree and the apple I bit into earlier that I left on the bench with two pinecone men sitting next to each other. I still see the goal I made with sticks, and I kick one of the apples through it.
Achievement unlocked.
I continue up the path and climb up the ladder and into the treehouse. Inside I find a Lillemor figurine carved out of wood on the bench.
Achievement unlocked.
And a key inside a matchbox. The key falls to the ground and I pick it up off the floor and unlock the door. I keep following the path and jump across the platforms to the other side when I see a shadow fly across the ground. I see more pinecone men on a log. And I come across a hole in the ground. I jump down and see a light at the far end of the tunnel. I slowly start walking through the darkness and over to the light to see what it is.
A light in the dark. A symbol of hope. A spark of courage.
I follow the moonlight and exit the tunnel. And climb the mountainside all the way to the top, where I find Lillemor howling over the lands.
What do you have there? Lillemor asked. It glimmers beautifully. What a strange rock. Light as a feather. She investigated closely. Let us play, little brother, Lillemor babbled. See if you can knock down this pine cone.
I throw the ball of light and hit the target out of Lillemor's hand. And then she throws the target into the air and I hit it with ease. I throw the light ball to Lillemor, but it goes over her head, bouncing away. She chases it, grabbing it before it goes over the edge. Then suddenly the ground gives way and we fall.
Together, they tumbled down deeper and deeper through the old ruin. Follow me, little brother. I will protect you, Lillemor said. She was never scared like him. Ulle wished he could be a little more like his sister. Lillemor loved adventures, and Ulle loved Lillemor.
I follow Lillemor and jump up the giant mushroom and jump back and forth between them.
Achievement unlocked.
After my fun, I think it's time to catch back up to her. I run up the grassy hill to see Lillemor crossing the river. I cross over the river, balancing over the log, and catch up to her. As we run through the greenery, a giant apple lands right in front of us, nearly squishing us. Then we see a gnome in the grass, and Lillemor chases after it. I follow behind, but I see a birdhouse I want to go check out. I continue up the hill and climb up the vines hanging off the edge of the rock side. I get to the top and I see Lillemor standing at a mini bell tower, and then the bell crashes down. We crawl inside and rotate the handle to free the gnome trapped underneath the bell. Then the gnome opens the door and we exit.
Gnomes are peculiar and playful creatures. They live peacefully in daylight and keep in their houses at night. Visitors that don't want to eat them were unheard of until this day.
I find a gnome carving on the bench next to the sleeping gnome, and then we try opening the door, but it doesn't budge.
Achievement unlocked.
The gnome calls for his friends and we play hide and seek. After finding all the gnomes, they help us open the door and we say goodbye and continue on our adventure. We run into an old gnome with some sort of creature by its side, and we herd a few of them back into the gated area. After we help the old gnome, we travel to the pond and cross over the water by jumping on some lily pads. But suddenly I feel the pad move from underneath my feet. jump on the last 2 lily pads and jump over to the land and start climbing up the vines to catch up to Lillemor. I keep running to catch up, but I see her crossing the river. I slide down the hill and onto the log. And as I run across, the log starts to move. I quickly sprint across, barely making it over. We run through the flowers until we reach a well.
They were both curious in different ways, while Lillemor quickly ran along. Ulle could get completely enthralled. And suddenly, Ulle was alone again.
I follow the glowing fairy, jumping over the gaps with the river rushing below me. I make it across to see Lillemor. When I see some creature behind her, they grab her and put her in a bag and start chasing me. I run away and jump into the river.
The river was strong, and Ulle was weak. He did not stand a chance. But soon the sound of the river faded. Ulle was happy to have firm ground under his feet again.
I walk through the field of white flowers and crossing over the water on a log. I climb up to the very top to see Lillemor, and everything goes dark.
Frog King made sure that his new friend did not drown. But without his sister, he felt like the loneliest child in the world. He just wanted to find Lillemor and go home. But to do that, he had to find where the big troll had taken her.
I continue forward to see a house that's been destroyed. I try the door and I hear a cry from something. I look to see a gnome holding a key, and the gnome points up to something. I push the cart over and stand on top, and jump to see what's up there. And it's a little pig toy. It must be the gnome's. I give the toy to the gnome, and it gives me the key in return. I see a door in front of me with candles lit on either side. I push the heavy door with all my might and the door opens. I go through and run over the wooden bridge and head down. Glowing eyes stare at me and I see the gnome in the distance hanging upside down from a rope. I run past the glowing eyes and cross over the gap. I jump and grab onto the tree and climb from tree to tree until I jump down onto the mushroom and go over to the gnome. But suddenly, I fall into a pit, onto a dead moose. I climb up and around the spiked pit, hanging onto the vines, and crawl into a tunnel that leads into the home of a troll. Quietly climb onto the cages and push through the blood and guts of deceased animals. I jump onto the vines and climb over on the boxes. I jump the gap and hide behind the carcass, but the troll finds me. It starts swinging its cleaver at me, and I dodge its attacks. Then thick blobs of bloody meat falls from above. I pick up a piece and throw it out at the troll's eye, blinding it for a second. Then the troll swings violently in the air before regaining its sight and swinging at me again. This time it thumps its fist on the table and I jump, dodging its shock. It keeps swinging until more bloody meat falls from above and I blind its other eye. It swings and thumps again until I blind it for the last time and I make my escape.
Ulla wanted to cry. A cup couple of hours ago, he had been in his warm bed. Now, he had almost died several times. His sister was gone, and he was soaked in smelly sewer water.
I climb down the stairs and walk over to the edge to see the gnomes locked up in a cage, suspended in the air. I jump down and move the cart, and climb up and push the box that frees the little ones. We open the door, and on the other side are traps littered in the grass. We walk around the traps, not setting them off. Keep walking down the path where we see a light in the house.
Achievement unlocked.
All the gnomes run into the house when a troll appears, stomping the house to pieces, as I hide behind a rock, trying not to be seen. As the troll was on the hunt for me, I hide inside the long grass, trying not to be seen by its light. I make it to the other side and inside a hollow log. I push forward, hearing the troll's every footstep. I slide down the hill and into the water, where I see the light again. I hide behind the box and then back into the tufts of grass in the water. As the light shines on the water, I see traps beneath. I carefully maneuver around them. Cross over the log and up the wall, and take cover behind the severed arm. I go to the wall and start climbing along it, with the troll right above me. I make it to the window on the other side and climb up. I cross the plank and climb onto the tree, and slowly climb up and jump to the next tree next to me. I walk along the branch. When it starts to move, it breaks and I fall. Sorry. I get up and play soccer with the creature, using it as a soccer ball, and kick it out of the cave. We slide down the hill and land in a massive pool of blood and guts, and I see something underneath the surface. I climb onto the rock, avoiding whatever's lurking underneath. I go from rock to rock and push the crate into the blood to distract whatever's following me.
Achievement unlocked.
I jump over and finally make it to the exit. I climb up on the cage and jump to the ledge to find a troll statue sitting above me.
Achievement unlocked.
I climb on the vines and up to the top, making my way around the edge of the room looking for an exit. I walk over to the table and around the pot when I'm grabbed. I start pushing the cage back and forth and it falls to the ground. The cage opens and I escape. In the distance I see pinecone creatures. And as I get closer, some run away, but the others stay, standing on top of the troll. I grab some rocks and throw them at the creatures, removing them from the troll.
Ulle felt bad for the ill-treated giant. Lemmus might be big, but he had a warm stone heart. All he longed for was a friend, but his face scared away most. Even so, it seemed like he had found one.
I continue on the path to find my sister and find the light sitting on some mushrooms.
Ulle was comforted by the morning sun. He had survived the night, but just barely. At least he had found the stone again. And it felt like it was his sister's way of telling him he was on the right path.
I run through the grassy fields, seeing all the animals and wildlife. And I come across a gnome sitting on a hedgehog. I jump up and hop aboard and lead the hedgehog across the water. I explore the little island and find another wood carving of a lady playing a violin.
Achievement unlocked.
I get back on the hedgehog and we cross over the water again and onto land. The gnome runs off and I run up the hill to find a troll and a bunch of puffball creatures. I move the puffballs closer to the troll to get its attention. The troll sneezes and it helps me up and over the ridge and I slide down the other side. I find the gnome crying and it wants help getting to its dad. It climbs onto my head and I walk through the water and get it to the other side. I find another carving, and this time of a troll.
Achievement unlocked.
I duck under the roots of the trees and balance over the log and finally get the gnome to its dad. Next minute I hear music playing and I start dancing. And I fall down the hill, sliding all the way down into a cave. I pick up my stone light and explore the dark cave. I jump on the platforms They start to crumble under my feet. Then a boulder takes out the path. I head up and quickly jump to solid ground. I push forward until I see a cage that I can jump onto and jump to a rock. I jump to the platform, then climb up the rocks to find a cage I can push, releasing the platform below. I drop from the top onto the platform and make the jump over. I keep climbing and jumping over the rocks until I get to a wider surface. I see a huge bat crawling up the wall, but I press on, jump onto the cage that lowers down to a moving platform. Then another cage lowers and I jump onto it. I keep jumping from platform to platform, barely seeing what's ahead of me because of how dark the cave is. I climb on the cages and get to the other side where the cave drops down and I see carvings all on the wall. I finally see some light and head towards the exit of the cave. Once outside, I hear the music again, but I can't stop myself from dancing. I skip straight off the edge of the ground and onto a lily pad floating in the water. The music stops, but I keep moving, jumping on the lily pads and through the thick, deep mud. Once out of the mud, I go back to jumping on the lily pads when a creature appears from below the water and it takes a swipe at me. I quickly keep jumping on the lily pads and push through the mud with the creature right behind me. I get to land and climb on the rocks, and then a sound wave blasts through the lands, whipping out all the small creatures. The creature plays its music from the center of the water, and as the last note is played, the sound comes hurling at anything that's not behind cover. I work my way around the pond, trying to stay in cover and not to be hit by the notes of the creature. I finally make it away from the musical creature when it appears again. I crawl through the long grass, staying out of its sight, jump into some water and back into a cave. Inside the cave, I find a storybook sitting next to two skeletons.
In his past life, Necken was a simple man that loved playing his violin, but the village did not appreciate his talent. People would frequently bully him, and the only soul that did not was a girl that Necken fell in love with. One day the bullying and beatings became so severe that Necken's anger finally overtook him. He marched into the village, playing forbidden melodies that made everyone dance, until their flesh and bone got worn down. They eventually died, leaving behind shuffling corpses, still trying to dance to Necken's melodies. His love was not spared death either. Devastated, Necken left the town and lived by the lake, drowning in his sorrow, where he still lures people with his deadly music.
I push deeper into the cave, and the exit's close by. I make it out and I hear rushing water. I jump up to the top when Necken jumps up from behind me and tries to take a bite out of me. I jump into the rushing water and it takes me down the current. Just before the edge, I'm grabbed by Necken. But we both go over and fall.
Achievement unlocked.
I push myself up to stand and then walk forward. I'm back in the flower fields, crossing the water and climbing the mountain, but my sister isn't at the top.
As the bramble crawled closer and closer, he felt as if a darkness took hold of his heart and filled it with fear. Then there was a light.
I stumble across a girl sitting there. And I collapse to the ground in front of her.
Tuva was a light in the darkness. She had filled his heart with courage, and the stone with her radiance. The bramble covers all where darkness has taken hold, Tuva said. Follow the light. You will find what you are searching for within the mountain.
After feeling better, I continue through the forest and see brambles blocking the way. I take the left path, but it's a dead end. But I do find a carving of Tuva.
Achievement unlocked.
I go back to the brambles and shine the light at the flower, destroying it, and the brambles quickly retreat. Further up, more brambles are blocking the way, but the light does wonders, taking care of all of them. The deeper I go, the more brambles there are, but eventually I reach an open and the light shines bright with no brambles in sight. But there are plenty in the distance, and I can see the friendly troll in the distance too. I slide down and jump onto the rooftops. A giant bramble appears in the middle of the houses. The flower shines a bright light, but I hide from its view in the grass. I work my way around the rooftops, hiding behind chimneys and inside grass patches, until I'm far enough away from the massive white flower. Then suddenly the bramble takes over everything.
The land was once a peaceful kingdom with a great king. Now, his image embodied the darkness that had drowned the world in Bramble.
As I drop onto another rooftop, the brambles start to take over. I quickly jump from rooftop to rooftop and get to my troll friend.
Lillemor would always look after his only friend. Olle felt a chill as he saw the warnings for desperate mothers carrying their infants. They pleaded with them not to carry out the unspeakable acts they had set their minds to.
I continue on the path and jump up to the swinging platforms, then jump to the vines draping down the rock face and climb up. I go over to the bridge and push the log over, making a path to the other side. I walk around and jump down and make my way over. I walk over to whatever's hanging on the cross and then head right and walk over the plank bridge and pull myself across with the raft. I keep keep following the path, and I head up to see these creatures on either side of the water just staring at me. I keep going, flashing the light until the path raises up and I see a light in a house off in the distance. I make it to a T-junction and go right, but it's a dead end. So I head left and jump up the gap and look through the door, and there are brambles inside blocking the door. I decide to climb up on the net beside the door, and once up, I see a hole in the roof. I jump down inside the house and use the light to remove the brambles off the door. And then I see more brambles on the other side. I remove the brambles that are covering the handle on the pole and wind the cage down. And as I let go of the handle, I jump on and grab the cage and it raises up. I jump to the upper platform and remove the brambles, and the boat drops into the water and floats off. I head outside and use the boat to jump across to the other walkway. I check under the house to see if there's anything there, and I find a carving.
Achievement unlocked.
I go back and explore up the stairs, and the door is open to the house. Inside is a burning door and symbols on a bunch of items. I find a piece of paper in a chest that explains what I think I should do. I find the symbols on the items and match that with the ones on the door and place them in the cauldron and pour the concoction on the door, and the symbol changes. I find the 2 items to brew and pour it on the door, and it puts the fire out and the door opens.
Achievement unlocked.
In the next room, I find another storybook.
If you find yourself in pain and sorrow, cry no more, they will be gone tomorrow. Listen to the voices of the deep, and join the wolves that circle round the sheep. A temporary sacrifice you make in order for your powers to awake. Trust in the transcendent and surrender to be received into the arts of splendor. Behold the transmutation into gold. Soon a god emerges from the mold. No longer human, brick to land alone. A goddess reborn seated on her throne.
Once I finish reading the story, underneath the storybook is a handle. I grab it and place it on the wall, where a ladder comes down from the upper level. So I go up the ladder and investigate. A lady leaves the room and I climb up and I try to open the door, but it doesn't open. The hatch shuts and a book falls to the ground. I look on the shelves and grab the books and place it on the one on the ground, and it's high enough to stand on and get out of this room through the window.
The witch was ahead of him. Olle knew he had to hurry before she could complete the ritual. If he did not catch up with the woman, the swamp would swallow another child. But he did not know that someone else wanted to hold him back. A midwife who wanted more dark souls to take care of.
I run along the walkway, trying to find the lady with the baby, but all I find is a raft. I pull myself out to the waters. And a bunch of crows fly at me. I dodge the crows, then shoot a beam of light at the witch. And she drops into the water. And I hear and see movement in the water. A cot appears out of the water. And the witch surfaces from the other side. I shoot her with a beam of light, and the witch goes back under the water. I keep looking in the water again, and I see movement. Another cot pops up, but where's the witch? I keep looking out to see more movement, and it's just another cot. I don't take my eyes off the water, and she pops up in front of me. Again, I hit her with a beam of light, and she goes back under the water. The witch tries one last time, but I keep watch, and when she pops up, I hit her, destroying her.
Achievement unlocked.
I pull myself to the other side and remove the brambles down the path until I see a lady go inside a house. But she marks a symbol on the outside of the house before entering with the baby. I run to the door, but it's locked shut. I turn around to see a boat covered in brambles. Then I head to the path I saw next to the boat and remove the brambles covering it. The boat sits upright, and I jump aboard and jump onto the roof of the house and over. The brambles start to move, and I run, trying not to be grabbed. Brambles retreat, and I'm waist deep in water. I pull through the water and hop onto the walkway and jump over. I quickly get to the top of some floating debris, and I see movement in the water. I wait for the movement in the water to stop, then I jump back in and get to the rock. I go again and get to the walkway. Then I see a box on the other side. I go over and climb up the ladder, jump onto the box. It falls into the water with me on top. I take my chances and jump into the water and get to the next box. Whatever's in the water is fast. Again, I jump back in and I get to the next walkway. I hesitate for a moment, then jump in. As I get further in, the deeper it gets. Then I see the creatures with glowing eyes all around me. I push through and get to land. I walk past the hanging lady to find the baby in a pool of water surrounded by candles. I give the baby a proper burial.
Ulle had been too
Achievement
late.
unlocked.
At least he could give the child a proper burial, so that it would not become another dark soul.
I see a light in the distance and head towards it.
There was a light in the darkness. Guilt and sorrow weighed him down, but the warm glow felt comforting. Follow the light, Tuva had said, and he trusted her. The Lichtgübe was older than the mountain, almost as old as the world itself. He was the keeper of secrets, the gatherer of stories. Long ago, there was a peaceful kingdom that lacked an heir to the throne. King Niels and his queen Magdalena had waited for a long time, and at last she was expecting a child. She gave birth to the longed-for son, and they named him Ulrich. But suddenly, doctors crowded around the queen's bed. Magdalena succumbed to the labors of childbirth. The love of his life was gone. Weighed down by sorrow, King Niels approached his autumn. Meanwhile, Ulrich grew into a young boy full of life. The prince was the only thing that kept the darkness at bay in his heart. One day, Prince Ulrich fell ill. The doctors tried everything, but he grew weaker and weaker. They told King Niels about a mythical flower that witches were rumored to use to heal any illness. King Niels searched the whole kingdom for the flower to no avail, and his campaign soon became a gruesome witch hunt. His path was lined with the witches he had slain, but the flower was nowhere to be found.
After looking at the book, I follow the Lichtgübe.
Ulle wished he could stay in the warm light of the library. but he knew that he needed to reach the mountain and find Lillemor.
I'm led into a hedge and I enter.
Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. "Follow me, little brother. I will protect you."
I chase after Lillemor, but I can't catch up to her. She finally stops and then vanishes. I run to see a creature stand up, then float off the ground. It starts attacking me and I hide behind the trees for cover. There are bodies pinned to the trees. I use my light to remove them while dodging the spikes that come up from the ground. Once I've removed them all, I use the light on the creature and it falls to the ground. I run over and hit it with my sword and I'm thrown back. It gets back up and here we go again. There are more bodies pinned to the trees that I need to remove while dodging spikes and waves of blood and red explosive flames. Once all the bodies are down, I hit the creature again with the light and it goes down. I run over and hit it again. I start taking out the bodies floating around the creature while still dodging each attack that it sends at me. I finally remove them all and make the final attack on the creature. I repeatedly stab the creature over and over again until I've had enough.
Achievement unlocked. Achievement unlocked.
Ulla, what have you done? Tuva's voice called out to him.
I continue through the greenery and I see the destruction of the forest and what's left behind. Who or what has done this?
Den blomstertid nu kommer med lust och färdring stor. Du nalkas ljuva sommar, tog gräs och gröda gror. Med blit och livlig värme till allt som varit dött. Säg solen strålar närmare och allt blir återfött. Det fagra blomsterängar och en sädlas här. Det rika örtesängar och lundens gröna träd. Det skola oss påminna Guds godhetsriket, att vid den återstid som räcker året om.
I run towards the village and something has definitely happened here. I enter the house to see a dead woman sitting in a chair and I find another carving.
Achievement unlocked.
The arm of the woman is holding a handle on the back of the chair. I release the grip from the handle and turn it to reveal a secret compartment with a key inside. I use the key to unlock the door and walk outside. I crawl under the barricade to see something feeding on the dead. I stay silent and crawl and stay hidden by the long grass. But as I try to get to the next grassy patch, I'm heard and two creatures come around to investigate. I stay still in the grass and wait for them to leave. Then I make my way around the creatures staying in the grass. I hop up and over the barricade, and as I land, the birds fly off, alerting the creatures, but I quickly crawl into the grass. They walk off, back to feeding, and I slowly crawl into the water between the two groups and get over to the next area. I see a door that I try to open and it's unlocked. I enter inside the house to find a storybook.
Once there was a peaceful village near a great forest. One night, people began to see a beautiful woman with long dark hair lurking in the shadows during the full moon. Men started to follow her into the forest. Some of them never returned, and those who did had lost their minds. Eventually, the villagers had enough. They took all the dark-haired women of a certain age and put them on trial for witchcraft. They started to execute them, hoping to find the right one. Yet men kept disappearing during full moon nights. The villagers grew more and more desperate and burned down a large area of the forest in the hope of finding this strange, beautiful woman, but to no avail. The villagers had lost themselves. They killed their own mothers and daughters. They burned down more of the forest that had served them with resources. Then one night, when the moon shone at its brightest, 5 brave men took matters into their own hands. They put on their coats and walked into the burnt forest to hunt for the woman with the dark hair. After a time, they saw the beautiful woman standing in a clearing. The men were instantly enchanted and followed her deep into the forest's heart. She was a shapeshifter that mimicked what men wanted to see in order to lure them away. When they were close enough to touch her, she transformed into something monstrous. She ripped their chests open, hung them up in the trees, and drew strange powers from their still beating hearts. And no one would ever see them again.
I leave the house and I can hear more creatures feeding in the next section. I crawl through the grass on my right, then sprint across the gap to the left where there's another patch of grass. I hide in the corner hoping the creatures don't come up to me. While they are distracted, I jump over the wooden coffins and quickly jump onto the walkway. I just make it up before getting grabbed and quickly get over the barricade. I crawl through the area, not knowing if any creatures are around, but I can't see any. I keep crawling and I come towards a lake. I see a net that leads into a window of one of the buildings. I climb across and into the window where I hear creatures inside. I stay crawling and find some boxes to climb up on while not alerting the creatures. And the window leads to an upper opening. I walk across the plank and into the next building, where I see a fire door below on the ground. I jump through the hole to the ground floor, and it looks like it's one of those doors back in the cabin. I make the concoctions to open the door, and after 3 lots of brews, the door opens and I'm free. I check the building door on my right, but it's locked. So I head up to find a house with no door and walk in and explore. Inside I see a model with lots of houses and a key sitting in a piece of wood. I grab the key and head back to the building with the locked door, and it opens. Inside I climb across the net and jump over to the handle that raises the fishing cage. I climb up to the top and jump off the building. I check the other buildings, but there's nothing inside but a body in the corner. I climb up the net and jump over the buildings until I reach the last building. I go inside to find a body sitting in a chair at a table. I pull the chair out and her arm drops by her side. As she's holding something, I open her hand and grab the key and open the door with it. Outside leads to another house and another storybook.
Dear diary, I am so in love with him. I cannot even describe it. It feels like he loves me too. Our village still tries to heal its wounds from the dark days, but at least me and my love survived and have each other. After the horrible witch hunt, we thought we were safe. We thought we would have peace. But then the plague came to our village. Feels like the plague is some kind of punishment for our sins. Maybe we deserve this. People say they have seen an old woman with a rake at night. Every house she passes, people inside get sick. I hope she does not come to my house. Every morning, someone new has fallen ill, and shortly thereafter they die. We do not even dare to give them a proper funeral. It is horrible. The dead are rising from their graves, and they eat the ones left alive. I have locked myself in the house. I got separated from my love. I wish I could be with him. I hope I can meet him in the next life. I'm out of food, and the dead are right outside my door. I miss him so much.
I search around the house, but there's nothing else. I leave and jump over another blockage, get chased by 2 plague creatures. I run and jump onto the next blockage, getting away from them. I follow the path and push the table out the way and head towards what looks like a barn. I open the door and walk down the dark hallway and go up the stairs. I nearly run into a hole in the floor, but one of the plague creatures falls into it though. I jump up on a set of boxes and see 2 plague creatures. I shine the light and they seem to be attracted to it. I move around trying to get them out of the way so I can get around to the opening. I bait them into the corner of the room, and that's just enough space for me to squeeze past and get out of here. But there's some hanging boxes in the way and I need a handle. I jump over to the other side where there's a handle sitting on a table. I grab it and jump back over and wind the handle and escape over to the next building. I drop down and shine my light for a brief second, and a plague creature charges at me. I try to find my way in the darkness and somehow make it down the stairs and find the door, and I'm out. I go around the side of the house and there's so many plague creatures waiting out the back. I jump over the broken fence and enter the house next door. I ignore what I see and head out the back of the house through the hole in the wall. I walk over to what seems like a church of some sort. Inside I find lots of books laying about, and I decide to stack them up and climb up the latticework to the top floor. I go down the stairs and fall down to the floor. I get up and go outside to see bodies laying on the ground. Then I jump over the broken fence to see more bodies laying about. I run through the graveyard and I see the bodies start to move. I jump through the fence, and then I see them all running to the opposite direction. I head that way and see them trying to break through the fence. I run down the path to an open area and look at a grave. I head right, then I hear the fence break. I run for my life as they chase me. I jump over and keep running through the bramble fields and over the bridge. I get to the other side when the bridge collapses and they all drop into the water. I climb up the ladders, and before I climb the final one, I see a carving on the edge of the floor.
Achievement unlocked.
I climb, and as I'm climbing, a solar eclipse happens and everything goes dark. As I reach the top of the tower, I shine my light and the thing up here starts to glow. I come out from the cave and cross the water and get into a boat. I row across the water when it goes dark. I stand up with my light in complete darkness. And a face appears in front of me and rats flow out from his mouth. I dodge the rats and fire a beam of light into its eye. He disappears, and I run to the image in the distance. Then he reappears and splits into 5. I start shooting beams of light at him to find the real one. and beam his eye. The cycles continue over and over until I reach the exit and I'm back in the boat in full daylight.
Achievement unlocked.
He had overcome the darkness. He had reached the mountain. He could finally find his sister.
I run through the fields and cross over the water and climb the cliffside once again until I get to the top.
As he reached the summit, Ole felt regret. Regret that he could not stop his sister from being taken. Regret that he could not stop the woman from drowning her child. Regret that he had killed the shapeshifter in the forest.
Achievement
Mountain stood
unlocked.
before him, and he wished he could ask their forgiveness. He had reached the end that Tuva had pointed him towards. Now, entering the halls of the mountain, Ulle was ready to find his sister.
I enter the door that leads into the library, where I find the Lickguber and another storybook.
Achievement unlocked.
Exhausted, bloody, and at his wits' end, King Nils came to a witch's house on the outskirts of his kingdom. He fell to his knees, begging the witch to help cure his son, and she agreed. The witch explained that the flower held tremendous power that could only very carefully be used for good. The witch instructed he only use a single petal. Using the whole bloom would only invite death. Ulrich began to recover, but discontent at the royal line had grown in the kingdom following King Nils' bloody campaign. The next day, King Nils found his son dead, and the last light holding his darkness at bay was snuffed out. Heartbroken, King Nils turned to the bloom which had promised life, and instead saw it as an escape from his suffering. The witch, having come to visit the king and the prince, looked at the nightmarish scene in despair. She raised a mountain on top of King Nils and shackled him using the same bramble that he let loose upon the kingdom. And to this day, The trolls still feed him as punishment for his evil deed.
I hop off the stool and go to the table where I find a carving of the Lickgubber.
Achievement unlocked.
Then walk up the stairs and through the hallway of many books. Inside the room I find a carving of the king on a bookshelf.
Achievement unlocked. Achievement unlocked.
And 3 pictures on the wall. And a goblet on a blood-stained bed. And a side table with some trinkets on it. I open a side door and it has some nice clean clothes and I put them on.
Oh.
I take a closer look at some of the items laying about and I find a sword with a number 10 on it. A silver container that has a 2 on the bottom, and the goblet that has a 6 engraved inside. I try using those numbers on the clock. And I get the right combination. The curtains open, exposing a small desk and a key for a locked door. I grab the key and unlock the door and walk inside. I run down the room with brambles on either side and slide down the opening on the right. I slide straight onto a belly of a troll, but he doesn't seem to care. I run up to the anvil and climb on top and hide behind the block. I need to watch out for those sonic booms of the weights in the background. I make it across the table and over the counterweights and stay behind the rolling wheel and finally make it to the other side. I remove the brambles on either side of the door.
The gate that was meant to be closed forever, now opened. The Mountain King, who was meant to be hidden forever, was now revealed. He just had to reach the sack before Lillemor ended up as the giant's dinner.
I climb to the top where I see a bag with Lillemor inside. shoot rays of lights at the flowers on his shoulders, and he tries to stab me with the knife and fork. After removing all the flowers, he pulls out his sword and scepter, and round 2 begins. I start removing the next set of flowers while he smashes his scepter on the table, and chunks of the ceiling fall, nearly hitting me. And then he swings his sword back and forth, trying to kill me. Dodge the swings of the sword and the smashes of the scepter until all the flowers are gone.
But the bramble weakened. The Mountain King saw clearly for the first time in centuries. And what he saw reminded him of his beloved son. He would not lose him again. This time, King Nils would overcome the darkness. The source of the curse blossomed. King Nils tore the bramble rooted in his back and brought it all to an end. The only way to get to Lillemor was now up and in.
I climb the king's sword to the very top. And jump to his beard.
Achievement unlocked.
And then I'm sent hurling off, but before I hit the ground, I throw the stone into the king's mouth.
Tuva had one last gift to give to Ole. Dead, his prison started to crumble. Lillemor would always look after his friend. A nightmare woke her up. Frightened by her memories, she searched for her brother's comfort. But he was nowhere to be found.
Achievement unlocked.
However, the darkness outside
Congratulations.
did not scare her.
100% complete. You've unlocked all achievements. Achievement unlocked.
Because she knew she had her brother.